So it's that time of year again, summer is about to end, and that means that the new iPhone 14 lineup is right around the corner. And in this video, I want to talk about a few reasons why I think you guys should wait for that iPhone 14 lineup, and stick around because the last reason might actually surprise you guys. But let's talk about it. So first off, let's talk about expectations for this iPhone 14 lineup. First off, we can say goodbye to the fan favorite of the iPhone mini. The iPhone 12 mini and the iPhone 13 mini were a big fan favorite. People showed it a lot of love on social media, but there's gotta be a good reason why Apple's taking it out of the lineup completely, and it's probably because it just didn't sell enough. You know, as much as people love that iPhone, I rarely, if ever, saw it in the wild. It was all iPhone 13s and then iPhone 13 Pros and Pro Maxes. The mini was just never really around. So I'm sure the sales of the iPhone mini just weren't as high as Apple anticipated, and that's why they're removing it. Because clearly, if Apple was making money off of the iPhone mini sales, then they would have kept it in the lineup. But we can kiss that one goodbye. But even though we're getting rid of the 14 mini, I guess the idea of that, we're still going to be getting 4 new iPhones in the 14 lineup. But instead of having that smaller iPhone mini, the regular iPhone 14s will come in a 6.1 and a 6.7 inch variant, and then same thing for the iPhone 14 Pros. We're still going to have the 6.1 and the 6.7 inch displays. When it comes to the regular iPhone 14s, Apple's probably going to have that mindset of if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So expect a very similar design. So we're still going to have dual cameras on the rear, it's still going to have those flat edges, it's going to still have that iPhone 12 and iPhone 13 design language, we're still going to have a notch on there. The only real difference that they're going to have is they might add in a new color because Apple always adds a new color, and they're saying that purple might be the new color this year. And then also, we're going to have an A15 Bionic, so no A16 in here, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit, but they're probably going to have an A15 Bionic inside in terms of the chipset, and then bump up the RAM from 4 gigs to 6 gigs in order to, again, future-proof a little bit further and give you a reason to upgrade from the 13 to the 14. But I'm going to go ahead and go out on a limb and say if you have an iPhone 13, the iPhone 14, unless you are a die-hard Apple fan, you probably won't need the iPhone 14. So this is where it gets a little bit more interesting with these new 14 lineups, because with the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, this is actually going to be the first time that Apple's going to differentiate chipset on the different lineup of iPhones. So normally, iPhone 13, whether it's a 13 regular or an iPhone 13 Pro Max, the internal chip is going to be the same. It's mostly just upgrades to the hardware, to the display, to the cameras, and things like that. But this year, we should be getting an A16 chip instead of an A15 Bionic on the 14 Pro and Pro Max. Now, whether or not that's going to give you a real day-to-day performance difference in terms of making things load faster, making your life a little bit easier, is yet to be seen, so definitely stay subscribed or get subscribed to see a lot of comparisons and us reviewing these 14 and 14 Pro lineup of phones and comparing them to last year's iteration of iPhone 13 Pros. And then same thing goes for the colorway for the iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max. I do believe we're going to be getting a purple, so I think on the 14 regular lineup, it's going to be kind of like a bright purple, and then on the Pro lineup, it's going to be a little bit more of a hazy purple, a little bit more subtle, a little bit more dull, but still a purple nonetheless. So always new colors are a welcome addition to iPhone lineups. But then what's going to make this a Pro phone, I do believe it's going to be twofold. So the first one is going to be the new display. So the display, I know that with the 13 Pro and Pro Max, we got the new Pro Motion and things like that, but this is going to be the first time since the iPhone 10 that Apple's going to forego the notch design, and they're going to switch over to kind of a pill and hole punch design on that top centerpiece for the front-facing camera and for Face ID. And then we also got a leak from a screen protector company making screen protectors for the 14 Pro lineup. And honestly, I'm a fan of the pill design. Something different, something unique. It doesn't look to be too big and too annoying because if we got used to the notch, then we're probably going to get used to that pill and hole punch cutout shape that we're going to see on the new 14 Pro lineup. So overall, I like that idea. It gives it kind of a futuristic design. I know Samsung and every other Android phone in the planet has been doing the hole punch design for like 3, 4, 5 years now, so all the Android people are gonna be like, oh wow, Apple's reinventing the hole punch design. No, Apple is just doing what they usually do, where they wait a few years before implementing a new technology. But another thing to note is that Apple, like I said, is going to be keeping Face ID, and there were initially rumors of a fingerprint scanner being in display for the 14 Pros, but that was actually washed away, and we're sticking with Face ID, which I actually prefer Face ID over Touch ID. And then the next big upgrade that the Pro lineup is going to get is going to be the first real change to the rear camera sensors in a very long time. Apple has always touted their 12 megapixel sensors across all 3 cameras, but now we're actually going to be getting a 48 megapixel sensor, at least rumored to be getting, but it'll still be binning and taking the images at 12 megapixels unless manually changing in the settings that you do want a high resolution 48 megapixel camera. So that's a welcome addition to have 48 megapixels on the main lens. I'm just hoping that Apple still stays true, because Apple does a great job of shifting between the different camera lenses. A lot of cameras that have different camera lenses and they try to go ultra wide and then wide, it's usually different megapixel counts, so like the color science and things get washed away and it's a little bit weird and wonky when it goes from different lens to lens. iPhones actually do a great job of transitioning kind of flawlessly between all three lenses, but I'm hoping now that we're gonna have a 48 megapixel camera as a main sensor, it doesn't kind of ruin that transition, because that's a big perk and something that goes relatively unnoticed with the iPhone camera system experience. Again, this is all speculation, but we're pretty certain that this is gonna be what the lineup is gonna look like. So we're gonna have the 14, the 14 Max, I believe it's going to be called, then the 14 Pro, and then the 14 Pro Max. So no more mini, like I mentioned earlier, but that's going to be the lineup moving forward for the iPhone 14s. But the main reason why I'm going to recommend people wait for the iPhone 14 Pro lineup is not really about the iPhone 14 Pro or the iPhone 14. It's about what's going to happen to the rest of the iPhone lineup and the price changes. So Apple is known to keep around older models, so they usually keep around at least 2 years worth of iPhones in the lineup that you can still buy brand new from Apple. So if you're in the market for an iPhone and you can hold off for another like 45 days, I do recommend holding off, because that means that Apple's going to be offering the 13 and the 12 at a much bigger discounted price. And again, the 13 and the 12 were both great phones when they first released a year and 2 years ago respectively. So if the stars align correctly when the 14 drops, you'll be able to get an iPhone 13 brand new from Apple for $599, and then also an iPhone 12 from Apple for $499. So that puts the iPhone 12 in that mid-range category, and in my opinion, it's going to be the best mid-range phone that you can buy in the market, especially in the US where it's so Apple dominant and iPhone dominant. So having a $500 iPhone 12 is going to be a game changer for a lot of people. And of course, Apple's going to be keeping around that iPhone SE at that $429 price point. So unless you're in dire need of an iPhone because it literally doesn't turn on or the screen is completely shattered, hold off until mid to late September, because that's when Apple's going to announce and release these iPhones, and then you'll be able to go to your carrier or go directly to Apple and get these older iPhones at a discounted price. But that is pretty much going to do it for this video, everybody. If you did make it to the end, leave a little dolphin in the comments down below so I know that you made it to the end. And let me know in the comments down below, are you planning to upgrade to the 14 or the 14 Pro lineup of iPhones? Are you an iPhone 13 user that also wants to upgrade? Or since you got the iPhone 13, you see no reason to upgrade for another 2, 3, 4 years? Because that's how most people use these iPhones. They use it for 3 to 5 years and then upgrade. Not a lot of people are getting every single iPhone every single year, because obviously that adds up from a cost perspective. And normally the value to cost ratio and upgrading every single year just isn't really there. So usually you want to wait a few years so you can see a real change in performance. So going from maybe an iPhone 10 to an iPhone 14, that makes a lot of sense, and you're going to see some rapid and some crazy performance gains. But this video was heavily inspired by a couple of 9to5 articles that were written by Jose and Chance, so I'll definitely link those down in the description below if you guys want to take a read and take a look at those. But that's going to do it for this video. If you guys want to watch more iPadOS, iOS, or macOS content, click on one of these videos right here, and definitely stay subscribed for all our iPhone coverage coming September. But until next time, peace!